How you doing, guys? Big Mate Dan here today, back once again with another Mortal Realms video for you. This time I'll be taking a look through the pages of issue 2. Just before we get into the magazine though, I want to remind you to check out the links to my Patreon in the description below, and I'll try and remember to put one as a pinned comment. I'm pleased to announce that I've got my first 2 patrons. That is so exciting for me. It's Adam Edgar and Mr. D Forks. And with this, I will be covering at least up to issue 5 of Mortal Realms now. I still need more patrons to support me in order to cover beyond that. I can't make these Mortal Realms videos without your support, so I'm very grateful to those 2 patrons, and I'm hoping I can gain a few more in the future. One of them is going to be sponsoring an episode, and the other one is pledged at the $5 pledge level. So with 2 months of pledging, then that will enable me to cover another episode. So really, realistically, as long as they stay pledged for 2 months, I should really be able to cover up to episode 6, because it'll be 2 months by the time issue 6 comes out. So let's take a look at issue 2 for the time being. Right, what do we get with this week's issue? We get the Myrmourn Banshees, we get a first paint, Corax white paint, and we also get a starter brush. Adding these things up together is a little tricky because the starter brush doesn't have a price, but let's just give it a price of £3 because GW's brushes are never the cheapest. So let's give it a price of £3, the pot of paint is £2.75, and the Myrmourn Banshees from Games Workshop's website are £10, giving us a total value of over £15. This week's magazine costs $5.99, so you're making a great saving there. You're making close to a £10 saving. And what else do we get in the issue? Well, we get the Wrath of Nagash, painting Nighthaunt miniatures, and Myrmourn Banshees attack. Let's turn on to the first page now. First page covers Myrmourn Banshees, explaining exactly what they are. And I'll just read this brief introduction for you. The Myrmourn Banshees were once women who practiced the arcane arts and sought out magical knowledge. In their search for power, they failed to pay the proper respect to Nagash. In death, he has cursed them, forcing them to forever seek out and devour the magic they craved in life. Turning on to the next page, we get a bit of a closer look at the various aspects of them. The scream, the Myrmourn Banshees unleash a terrible scream of rage and misery as they attack their victims. They have a chill grasp. So despite their ghostly forms, Banshees can grasp and tear at living or stab them with their chill daggers. They are soul eaters, so the cold touch of a Banshee saps the will and strength of the living, eating away at their souls. Spell eaters. The Myrmourn Banshees hunger for magical energy. They can eat spells as they are cast and drain the magic from enchanted weapons. They carry chill daggers as well. Myrmourn Banshees are armed with cruel blades known as chill daggers. These ice-cold weapons possess vicious points that are capable of passing through all but the mightiest of magical armour with ease. So, you know, that Sigmarite armour isn't going to be much use against these chill daggers that the Myrmourn Banshees carry. However, they do have some weapons in their arsenal, the Stormcast Eternals. They have some weapons suitable to take on the likes of Myrmourn Banshees. They have enchanted weapons. The Stormcast Mauls and Maces the Storm Smite Mauls and Maces carried by Sequitors can destroy the ghostly form of a Banshee, striking with the power of a thunderstorm. And Shields of Azir, the magical shields carried by Sequitors, can be empowered by storm magic of Azir to block and parry the vicious thrusts of the chill dagger. So they do have some proof against them. Onto the next few pages, we get the Wrath of Nagash and the Soul Wars, and it just basically, I'll summarise these pages for you. It runs us through some of the interactions between Sigmar and Nagash. Firstly, Sigmar was wanting to take on the Chaos God, so he was trying to unite some of the other gods and powerful beings against the Chaos Gods. He tried to rally gods of order, destruction and death to his cause. and so he tried to get Nagash on his side. And at first Nagash was like, yeah, I'll help you, no problem. But then it comes to the Battle of Burning Skies. The Battle of Burning Skies was a colossal battle between Sigmar's forces of order and the followers of the Chaos Gods. Sigmar's armies fought bravely, but were ultimately defeated. Sigmar blamed himself for the defeat, but also pointed the finger at Nagash, who had refused to allow his forces to join the fight. So, despite the fact that Nagash had said, I'll join your battle to try and defeat the Chaos Gods once and for all, he was afraid that the Chaos Gods, if the Chaos Gods came out victorious, they'd then turn their attention to those who tried to defeat them, and in particular himself, Nagash, and the plans that he had for ruling the underworld forever and getting all of the power of the underworld. Onto the Soul Wars, Nagash claims all of Shyish and every soul that enters his realm. To his fury, others dare to challenge this right. From the God King Sigmar to the Dark Gods of Chaos, those who withhold souls from the Great Necromancer will be made to suffer as his plans for revenge fall into place. So, that hints at Sigmar stealing souls from the realm of Shyish. And the reason he did that is because he wanted revenge on Nagash. He wanted to get his own back on Nagash and rob him of some vital resources. So, Sigmar, in his vengeful ways, you know, you think of a god being like a good thing, almost. That's the way we view God in the modern world, anyway. But Sigmar is a kind of a vengeful god, and he wants to get his own back on Nagash. He does so by stealing the souls of all the greatest heroes that enter the realm of Shyish. So, once these great heroes die on the battlefield, Sigmar just he steals them souls away and he makes the Stormcast Eternals with them. Turning to the next page, we get the Necroquake. Nagash wanted to harness all of the power in Shyish and use it for himself. Nagash planned to draw enough power from Shyish to conquer the mortal realms. Unfortunately for the Great Necromancer, his plans would be disrupted, resulting in the Necroquake. This eruption of death magic caused untold disruption across the mortal realms, altering the nature of magic itself and causing vast Nighthaunt processions to rise from the grave. So the Black Pyramid, this is in a little boxed off section here. The Black Pyramid floats above the centre of Nagash's realm, Shyish. Shyish Nadir is what the centre is called, and that is the weakest point of magic in the realm of death. But Nagash wanted to make that the focal point and the strongest point of magic. He wanted to basically reverse the poles of magic, if you like. At the minute, all around the edge of Shyish is the strongest points, is where magic's strongest. But Nagash wanted to reverse that and have a seat of power at the centre, so he could just absorb all of the power, all of the magical power in Shyish, and basically take over the mortal realms. But when he was trying to do so, he was performing this great ritual. Some Skaven, which are like rat men, got into the Black Pyramid and disrupted his plans, unfortunately for him. However, one thing that did happen was the dead started to rise all over the mortal realms, and this enabled him, when he realised that was happening, it enabled him to basically take control of the dead that were rising and cause havoc in the mortal realms anyway. Onto the next page, we get how to build the Myrmourn Banshees. It's just 2 pages because it's they're easy to build models, these ones, so you don't really need much instruction. They only come in 3 or 4 parts, each of them. And yeah, it's pretty simple, and it talks you through it. Onto the next page, how to paint Citadel miniatures. So yeah, like I said, we got Citadel Corax White paint. It's our first Citadel paint with the magazine. And it talks you through the basics, but before it does that, it gives you a nice few examples of Citadel products that you can use in painting your Citadel miniature. So basically it's an advert. You understand they're going to chuck adverts in like this because the things you might want to buy, but there are alternatives out there which I'll talk you through. So first off, we've got the Citadel water pot. The alternative to that is obviously a cup, a mug, a glass that you just put water in. It's for washing your brushes, so all you need is some kind of container to hold some water, and you can dip your brush in it and shake it. Don't push your brush on the bottom like you did in primary school or in grade school. don't push your brush on the bottom and like scrape it across the bottom, because that'll damage the bristles. What you want to do is just sort of stick it halfway down the glass and shake it back and forth just to get that paint off it. You also have paints and brushes, which obviously Citadel products we're going to be getting with the magazine anyway. And then you have painting palette. Citadel have a palette pad now, which is like a water that's non-absorbent. A paper that's non-absorbent, a pad of paper that's non-absorbent. So what you do, you get a bit of paint out of the pot on your brush and then you put it onto a palette. But instead of using this, you could just use a plate. Just make sure it's alright with your parents first if you're a youngster. Or if you've got like an old CD case, an old something that's not going to absorb water basically. So an old bit of hard plastic, an old tile from a bathroom or something like that. What you do, you grab a bit of paint, put it on your palette, and then you dip your brush in some water and then thin your paint down with a bit of water. That's what palettes are used for. A paper towel, which you can just get from Tesco. Citadel, unfortunately, at the minute don't produce their own paper towels, so yeah, you're gonna have to go and buy your own ones of them. And then it says how to get paint onto your brush. The best way to do it with a Citadel paint pot is shake the pot up first, and then carefully open the pot. Prop the lid up so the lid kind of sits at a 90-degree angle from, say, my thumb here is the top of the paint pot. The lid will sit pointing upwards normally, as long as the pot's in full working order. And then it's got a little shelf where some paint sits. You dip your brush in there, careful not to go too far down the bristles, go about halfway down the bristles of your brush, and then just scoop a bit of paint up and then put it on your palette, and then go from there. Go to the water pot, get a bit of water, thin your paint down. Onto the next page, it talks us through how to paint Myrmourn Banshees Corax White, and then on the following page, how to paint Chain Rasp Horde Corax White. Talks you through step by step, really nice simple guide. It shows you how to do a nice smooth coat, a nice smooth finish at the end. It uses 3 coats for that, so it seems like you're overdoing it maybe when you first get into it. But if you thin your paints down and then you put your first coat on, it's a bit patchy. You might be tempted to not thin your paints down so you get better coverage. However, with that you tend to see brush strokes in the paintwork. So that gives you an undesired effect at the end. Unless you want to see brush strokes for some reason, if you're trying some technique out that you've seen on the internet maybe. But yeah, most people want to thin the paints first and then just do a few thin coats. And then it gives you how the miniatures will look at the end if you follow their instructions. On to Terror Amidst the Tombs. Spectral Ambush. The Chain Rasps have been vanquished for now. So that's after issue 1, where the Chain Rasps fought the Sequitors. The Chain Rasps have been vanquished for now, but the shadowy barrows are still haunted by many other unquiet spirits. From the misty fog, 4 ghostly figures drift towards Anastasia Starstrike and her Sequitors, daggers held aloft ready to cut their victims down. So the Myrmourn Banshees slink their way out of the shadows and into the light and towards the Sequitors. In doing so, the Sequitors have to defend themselves. Onto the fight continues. So this is a continuation from the mission in the first magazine. You may have found though, I know on the Hobby Corner, I think it was on the Hobby Corner anyway actually, I'm not entirely sure, but it might have been someone in my comments, but I feel like it was a Hobby Corner. Make sure you check out his Mortal Realms videos. I had to close the cover of the magazine to remember what it was called then. Make sure you check out Hobby Corner's Mortal Realms videos. But I think it was on the Hobby Corner, he said when he played the game through, the Sequitors were rarely, he played it through a few times and the Sequitors were rarely victorious. So it's interesting to see that we're getting more death miniatures now, rather than more reinforcements immediately for the Stormcast Eternals. However, it may be the other way for most people. Remains to be seen. If you played through the first mission, let me know in the comments below how you got on. Were the Sequitors victorious, or were the Chain Rasps victorious? Anyway, it talks you through stage by stage, the same as the last issue basically, about how to pile in with your miniatures, move into base contact with them so that you get their attacks, the appropriate number of attacks. In this case, the Myrmourn Banshees just get 1 attack each, and the Secretors still get 2 attacks each, because they're still carrying the same weapons as last week's issue. One thing to remember about the Banshees attacks though is their weapons do more than 1 damage. So despite the fact that they only get 1 attack and a Stormcast has 2 wounds, basically their weapons can take out a Stormcast with just 1 attack. They actually have D3 damage, and it talks you through what D3 means here. So to get your total number of damage caused by each attack, what you have to do is roll a dice for each successful attack. And then you divide that number by 2 to give you a total between 1 and 3. You divide the number by 2 and round it up to give you a total between 1 and 3. So if you roll a 6, it's 3 attacks. If you roll a 5, it's damage rather. It's 3 damage. If you roll a 4, it's 2 damage. A 3 is 2 damage. If you roll a 1 or a 2, it's a single damage inflicted on a Stormcast. Yeah, it's exactly the same as last week's issue, talking you through step by step the attack sequence and the damage sequence and removing models. On to what is coming in next week's Mortal Realms issue 3. We are getting Stormcast reinforcements, we are getting Castigators and a Gryph-hound. The Gryph-hound is like a mixture of a dog or a cat-like creature, a griffin basically. It's got the head of an eagle. And the Castigators have these huge magical crossbow things, which look pretty exciting to me. And then the following week in issue 4, we are getting Ghostly Hordes Grow in Number. Learn more about the Mortal Realms, obviously. Glaive Wraiths Stalkers are the miniatures. We're getting 4 easy to build Glaive Wraith Stalkers in that issue. We're also getting paint in each of those 2 issues as well. Retributor Armour to start painting your Stormcasts, and Nihilic Oxide to start painting your Nighthaunt miniatures. Right, well, I just want to say thank you again to my patrons, and if you do want to pledge to my Patreon rather, in order for me to continue my Mortal Realms series, there's a link in the description below, and I'll try and put one as a pinned comment, as I said. We'll leave it there for now, guys. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you on the battlefield.